Hello viewers, welcome to the part 7 of the step-by-step Oracle Data Guard series, and in this part we are going to talk about configuring backups in the standby database. Viewers, I would like to suggest watching the previous parts in this series first for better understanding on what we will discuss in this tutorial, that is, configuring RMAN backups in the standby database. Basically, we move regular backups from primary database to the standby database to improve the performance of the primary database by reducing the load on it. As we know, the number one prerequisite for an RMAN backup is that the target database must be at least in mount or in open mode, as normally we keep the standby database in mount mode with MRP running at the background, so we can configure RMAN backups in a standby database when it is in mount mode. In addition to that, we can also configure RMAN backups in the standby database when it is open in read-only mode with redo apply on. You can set up backup jobs using RMAN commands in Unix shell scripts and schedule in cron tab, or in Windows as batch jobs or using any other scheduler. I have given some sample scripts that you can copy from my Google Drive using the link given in the description of this video below. But in this series, as I am emphasizing on OEM techniques, I will cover mainly how we can set up and schedule the RMAN backup jobs using OEM. Ideally, below should be the minimum Oracle database backup strategy using RMAN for a production database. Number 1, a level 0 incremental database backup every weekend. This is the base of your subsequent backups until the next level 0 or full backup is taken. Number 2, a level 1 cumulative incremental database backup every weekday. Your daily level 1 backups should be cumulative to save recovery time for production. For non-production, you may opt for differential level 1 backups. Number 3, a periodic archive log backup. Schedule for a periodic archive log backup depends on the rate of redo generated in the database. If your database has a very fast redo generation, then you may have archive log backups every 1 hour, 30 minutes, or even less than that. On the other hand, for a slow redo generating database, you may have every 2 to 4 hours frequency. Number 4, a threshold based archive log backup based on the uses of the fast recovery area or FRA or archive file system. This is very important because sometimes due to an unexpected rise in the redo generation, your archive file system or the FRA can be 100% full, in which case you cannot wait for the regular archive log backup jobs to free up the space. So there must be a usage threshold based archive log backup job which triggers automatically if the usage reaches say 75% or whatever percentage you are comfortable as the threshold. Now what I mentioned in this strategy is the minimum, and you can always adopt a strategy that best suits your protection requirements. In this tutorial, I will cover only the number 1, 2, and 3. I will cover the number 4 in a separate video outside of this series because that is for the primary database only. Before we go ahead and schedule RMAN backup jobs for the standby database in OEM, we must know a few limitations in this approach. First is related to OEM, which is OEM does not allow configuring backups for a standby database without a recovery catalog. The reason is, while configuring backups in the absence of a recovery catalog, it needs to write certain information to the control file, but OEM does not want to write to the control file of a standby database. But if you configure RMAN backups at OS level using crons or batch scripts in the standby server, this limitation does not arise. In this demo, I will show a workaround for this OEM limitation. Second is, usually when we backup archive logs, we delete them from the file system to free up space after they have been backed up using delete input clause in the backup command. But if you configure your archive log backups in the standby database, you cannot free up archive space in the primary database server using the delete input clause because the backup job is not taking the inputs from the primary database. But you can always configure additional jobs or commands to delete archive logs from the primary server which were backed up in the standby. So in this demo, I will configure the archive log backups in the primary database instead of the standby. Now let's start with setting up the backups in our standby database. So I logged in to my OEM system as sysman user And currently I am in the data guard administration page, where we can see that the primary database is with the DB unique name testdg1, and our standby database is with unique name testdg2. Now let's click on the standby database link here to go to its homepage, and from the homepage we will go to the availability menu, and under that backup and recovery, and first we will go to the backup settings option, where we will see the backup policies and some related settings. Under the backup settings option, we have the disk settings option, tape settings option, and Oracle Secure Backup options, and also media management settings, etc. So in this demonstration, I am going to use the disk settings only. If you want, you can also use the tape and secure backup options below. So first, the parallelism will be 1. Disk backup location, I am not going to specify anything, so it will by default take the first recovery area. And the disk backup type will be compressed backup sets to save space. If you have a CPU constraint, you can opt out of the compressed backup set and go to the backup set option. Then at the bottom, we have to select the hostname credential for the database, where I am going to select the NC Oracle Global, this particular name credential that we created for the host. And then we will go to the backup set tab here. Maximum backup piece file size 1000 MB. We are okay with that. Snapshot control file location, I am not specifying anything here, so it goes to the default location. Compression algorithm, if you want, you can specify the algorithm here. We have a couple of options there: basic, low, high, GSTD, and medium. So I am selecting the basic one and the release as default. Then optimize for load. Again, it controls the pre-compression processing. We don't want any pre-compression processing to save some CPU bandwidth, so we are keeping this optimize for load option on. Then tape settings, again we are letting it take the default settings. Anyway, we are not using the tape backup. Then host credentials, we have already selected in the previous tab. Then here the actual RMAN backup policy settings. The first option, automatically backup the control file and server parameter file, that is the SP file. This should be always on, and I am not specifying any particular location here, so it will go to the default location under the FRA. Optimize the whole database backup by skipping unchanged files. This option will check on. Enable block change tracking. This is important to optimize the backup and minimize the size by deduplicating the backed up blocks which are unchanged. So I'm specifying a location in the database server for the block change tracking file. Table spaces excluded from the whole database backup. We don't have to specify anything here. We don't want to actually exclude any table spaces. Then the retention policy. You see something different here, as these are grayed out and you cannot change these default settings here. It's because we are configuring the backup settings and policies for the standby database, and that's the reason these policies are grayed out or read only. We cannot make any change in the control file of a standby database or these settings. So you just have to stay with the default settings here. Then archive, redo, log, deletion policy. Currently it is none. So this second option is the best for our configuration, that is delete, archive, redo, log files after they have been applied to the standby database. So we check this option. Then host credentials, we have already specified, and then we will press the apply button. Now these changes have been successfully applied, and next we will go to actually schedule the backup. So again, click on the availability menu, and under that backup and recovery, and click on the schedule backup option. I just want to show you the error message that we are expecting here while scheduling a backup in the standby database. So any of these options, if we select here, whether it's Oracle suggested backup or customized backup, if you press any of these buttons, say schedule Oracle suggested backup, it is going to throw an error. And it says backup a physical standby database requires a recovery catalog. We are going to encounter the same error even if we select this schedule customized backup option here. But if you have a recovery catalog, then you don't have to worry about this error message, and you can go ahead and configure the backups for the standby database also. Alternately, if you want to configure the backups in OEM for the primary database, then also you are free to configure the backups. But I want to show you the workaround if you don't have a recovery catalog and still you want to configure the backups in the standby database. And that is to temporarily switch over to the standby database so it becomes the primary, then configure the backups and then switch back to the old primary. Your backups will continue to run from the standby even after its role change due to the switchback. So I will cancel this operation here, and then I will go back to the DataGuard administration page where we see our standby database is testdg2, and we will switch over to this standby database so it becomes the new primary. Press the switch over button here, then select the hostname credential and then click continue. It will also ask for the hostname credential of the primary database, that is the same. Press the continue button and we will select this option, swap monitoring settings, and then press the yes button, which will start the switchover process. As we have done this switchover, switchback, failover, etc. a couple of times before, so I will just fast forward this part and resume after the switchover is complete. And now, as we can see, the new primary database is testdg2 and the standby database is testdg1. And we are already in the homepage of the testdg2, which is the primary database. So I just want to go and show you what has changed in terms of the policy settings. So I will first click on the availability menu under that backup and recovery, and then we will go back to the backup settings again, and then we will go to the policy tab, and this time we see that the retention policy is editable now. The last time it was grayed out and it was just taking the default values. Whatever retention policy is appropriate for you, you can select here. I am okay with the third one, retain at least the specified number of full backups for each data file, this particular policy. And then I will go back to the availability menu again, and then backup and recovery, and from there I will select the schedule backup option. Then I will select the whole database backup under the customized backup option and click on the schedule customized backup. This time we have not encountered that error message. So it's going to be a full backup, and then we will use that full backup as a base of an incremental backup strategy. So that is going to be the level 0 backup. So select this option. Backup mode will be online, of course. Under the advanced section, we will select this option, also backup all archive logs on the disk, and the other option, that is delete all archive logs from disk after they are successfully backed up. And then we will also select this second option, delete obsolete backups. We don't have to select this use proxy copy support by media management software to perform a backup, this particular option. And under the encryption section, if you want, you can select an encryption option for the backups. I'm not selecting any encryption. Then click on the next button. And this is going to be a disk backup, of course, and it is selecting the fast recovery area for the database. You can take a look at the default settings or override the default settings. We are not going to deal with those at this time. So click on the next button. In this page, it is giving a name for the job. The job description is there, and whether we want this backup to be a one-time backup or it's going to be a repeating backup. As we want this level 0 backup to happen every weekend, so we are going to put a repeating option here. As this is going to run every week during the weekends, so we are going to select the weekly option here. And days of the week, we have to select on which particular day this level 0 backup will run. we will select the Saturday option here. And what time? I am in Eastern time, so I'm selecting the New York Eastern time. The date it is selecting as 19th, but 19th is not actually a Saturday. So it means the schedule will start, but the actual backup will start the following Saturday only. As you can see, today is Friday 19th. Then start time. So we are free to select a time as it's a standby database. Any time is good, which is not going to impact on the actual production load. So let's schedule it at say 9 p.m. in the evening. Repeat until indefinite, because we want this backup to continue indefinitely. And then we will click on the next button. And in this screen, we are able to see the actual script generated by OEM for us for the actual backup job. If you want, you can make a copy of this backup command or the RMAN script. And then we are going to submit this job. The job has been successfully submitted. Now click on this view job button to take a look. So right now, this is our backup job and the status is scheduled because it's going to run on Saturday only. Now similarly, I am going to create another backup job which will be incremental level 1 backup, which will run every weekday. So I will go to the availability menu again, under that backup and recovery, and then select the schedule backup option. At the top it says you have one or more backup jobs that are currently running or scheduled for this target. This is nothing but the last job we just scheduled. Then under schedule backup, we will again go to the customized backup section, and under that we will again select the whole database and then click on the schedule customized backup button here. And this is going to be an incremental backup. The last time it was full backup. Refresh the latest data file copy on disk to the current time using the incremental backup. I am not selecting this option here. Then this option, perform cumulative instead of differential backup, I am selecting this option. As I mentioned, if you use cumulative, that is going to save time during recovery. Although this option actually increases the backup time, it reduces the recovery time, which is more important for us at this time. Then backup mode, again it will be online backup. Also backup all the archive logs on the disk. We are selecting this option, and also delete all archive logs from the disk after they are successfully backed up. This second option also. And delete obsolete backup. This option we are selecting here like the last time. Encryption we are not selecting. Click on the next button. It is going to the disk and not to the tape. Click on the next button, and this time again it is selecting a job name for us, and under the schedule we are going to select the repeating option, and again we are going to select the frequency as weekly, and it will be repeated every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday we are not selecting because on Saturday actually it is doing the whole database or incremental level 0 backup. And then Sunday. Time zone again the same, and the start time. Now here the date it is selecting is 19th April, which is today. But if we look at the calendar, as I mentioned, our first incremental level 0 backup is scheduled for Saturday, which is going to be 20th. So there is no point in taking an incremental level 1 backup on 19th. So it must be after 20th. So let's select the 21st, that is Sunday, as the starting date of the schedule. And the start time, again, let's select 9 p.m. and it's going to be indefinite. And then click on the next button. And here we can see the script that is generated by OEM for us. And then press the submit job button. The job has been successfully submitted. Press the view job button, and we see the status is scheduled. Now, both our level 0 and level 1 incremental backup have been scheduled from the test DZ2, which is the primary database right now. And we should be able to see these backup jobs under all the jobs for this particular database. To see them in the list of jobs, we will select the Oracle database menu here. Under that, go to job activity. And in the list of jobs, the top 2 database backup jobs are the ones that we just created. The first one, backup underscore test dz2 .manage.home underscore 000163 is the incremental level 0 backup, and the one with 000164 at the end is the incremental level 1 backup. And we can see the schedule time, which is going to be April 20th for the level 01 and April 21st for the level 1. Now that both our database backup jobs are scheduled, we can now safely switch back to the original primary. First, let's click on the link for the target database, that is testdz2. You can go to the home page of any of the databases, be it the primary or the standby. And once you are in the home page, then go to the availability, and under that, data guard administration. Now, as we can see that the testdz1 is our standby database to which we will switch over so that it becomes the primary. So click on the switch over button, select the host name credential, click continue. Similarly, select the host name credential for the standby database also. Press the continue button, and in the confirmation page, this time we will select only the swap monitoring settings, and we will unselect or will not select the transfer jobs option here, because if we select this option, whatever jobs we configured, that will also be transferred into the new primary, and we don't want that. Then press the yes button here. Again, it's going to take around 4 or 5 minutes, and I'll just fast forward it and we'll be back once it is completed. Now our switchover has been completed, and we can see that the new primary database is testdz1 and the standby is testdz2. As we have scheduled the backups in the standby database, which are going to be running after 24 hours, if you don't want to wait for one whole day for the scheduled incremental level 0 backup to run, and you want to run it right now, then we can do that when we are in the home page of the testdz2, that is our standby database. Go to Oracle database, job activity, and these are the 2 backup jobs that we schedule. Click on the first one, that is the incremental level 0 backup, and that will give us the details of the job. Select this show more link here, scroll to the right, and here we can see the backup script. Click on the script link, so it gives the full view of the script being used, and we can copy this script within both the double quotes using Ctrl+C. I will log in to the standby server hosting the database with unique name testdz2 as Oracle user, who is the owner of the all Oracle installations. Then I will set up the environment, and then I will connect to the testdz2, our standby database, using RMAN target /. And then we will simply paste the command. Just before pasting it, I want to show you how does the command look like. So it is backup incremental level 0 cumulative device type disk tag %tag, whatever is assigned by RMAN for us, database. This is the first command. Then backup device type disk tag %tag archive log all not backed up, delete all input. Whatever archive logs are not backed up, those will be actually selected for backing up by this job, and also they will be deleted after backup. Then it is allocating the channel for maintenance type disk, and after that it is deleting the obsolete backup pieces, and finally releasing the channel. So copy this, and then we will simply paste the command. Our target database is not a big database, and the backup should complete in a few minutes. Now when this backup is running, let's go back to our OEM console, and then we will schedule an archive log backup in the new primary database, that is testdz1. So I am in the home page of the new primary database, that is testdz1. First we will go to availability under that backup and recovery, and then backup settings. And all the other things will keep as it is. Only under the policy there is a very important settings here, and we will directly go to the archive redo log deletion policy, currently which is none, which is not good, and we will select the second option here, delete archive redo log files after they have been applied to all standby database. So this is the safest option for deleting the archive logs, and then we will also select the hostname credential and then click on the apply button. So our archive log deletion policy has been set appropriately. Now we can schedule the archive log backups. So go to availability again, under that backup and recovery, then schedule backup. Then under the customized backup section, we will select the archived log option, then click on the schedule customized backup. And here we see that immediately after backup option is selected for deletion of the archive logs. We are okay with that. Then click on the next button. We don't have to select this proxy option and the encryption option here, and then click on the next button. The backups will be going to the disk, that is the first recovery area. On the disk, click next, and it has given one name along with a description. And under the schedule option, again we are going to select the repeating option here, and this is going to be by hours, and every say 2 hours is our ideal frequency, and that will be started immediately from today onwards. And the start time will be, right now it is 5:04, let's start it from 6 p.m. onwards. And the repeat until option is indefinite, and then click on the next button, and we can see the script generated and being used by this particular job. Then click on the submit job option, and the job has been submitted. Click OK. Now let's go back to our standby server to take a look at the backup status, and we can see that the backup has been completed. There are a couple of warnings which we can actually ignore, because some of the objects it was not able to delete, and it is just asking us to cross check the status of those particular backup pieces. We can do that later on. I could have avoided this particular warning by simply doing a cross check before the backup job runs, but there are a couple of more warnings which I could have definitely avoided, but I just want to show you so that you will understand why this particular error comes. First, from the beginning of the backup, we see that the backup has been successfully finished. Even it completed the control file and SP file auto backup, and the location is given. And then failed to archive current log at primary database, cannot connect to the remote database. The reason behind is we just connected to the standby database using RMAN prompt using operating system authentication, that is RMAN target slash. Whenever we use this particular slash here, it actually uses the operating system authentication for the database instance in that particular host. It is actually connecting to the local database in this host, which is the standby database. It is not actually connecting to the primary database in the other host, and that's the reason it says fail to archive log at the primary database. To avoid this particular error, we can always connect to the database not using operating system authentication. So this time I am going to run an incremental level 1 backup using actual password. So I will exit from the RMAN prompt, and this time I'll reconnect to the standby database, target as sys, and actual password test dg. And now we need to copy the backup script. So let's go back to our OEM console, go to the target database and job activity, and we see that this top one is the one for the incremental level 1 backup. So click on the link for the job, and in the job details page, click on the show more option, go to the right, click on the script link, and from there copy the script using Ctrl+C. Then I'll go back to the RMAN prompt where I have already connected to the target database with sysuser along with the password, and then I will simply paste the command. Let's go to the top to see the screen output where we can see that the backup was completed, and it also took the control file and SP file auto backup. And in the next section, it says the current log archived at primary, which was failing last time, but this time it was able to archive the current log in the primary database, and then it was backed up in the standby. And one more good thing here is, if you see this line, it says archive log not deleted, not yet applied by standby. It's because the RMAN policy we set for the archive log deletion, and we set it as the archive logs will be deleted after backup only if it has been applied in the standby, and if it is not applied, it is not going to be deleted. It is exactly following our instructions, so we are good. Coming back to the bottom of the screen output, we see the files which are not available in the disk. This can be easily overcome by simply doing a cross check. So this job has completed the task that we have assigned. Now to see the actual status of the scheduled jobs, we have to wait until the jobs are run as per their schedule. Then we can go back to the OEM console, then go to the standby databases homepage, that is the test dg2, and then we will again go to availability, backup and recovery, and from there backup reports. In this screen, we will be able to see the status of all our backup jobs that has been run so far from one single page. And if you click on any of the jobs, it will give us the details, the output and the input below. Let's reduce the size of the top pane, and below we are able to see all the details about the backup jobs that has been run, along with the backup size, when it was taken, compression ratio, total number of files, data files, everything. Please note that this was the incremental level 1 backup, which it is giving the details about. Also, there are a couple of more options. For example, if you want to manage your current backups by deleting or cross-checking the availability, etc., you can do from this particular option, manage current backups. Now let's do a cross-check for this particular control file copy and data file copy, so that in the subsequent backups, this particular warning never appears. So cross-check copy of control file, then delete obsolete, yes, again cross check data file copy, and we will simply put the full path, then delete obsolete, yes, and we have permanently resolved the mismatched backup pieces issue. So in the subsequent backups, this particular warning will not appear. Whatever backups we schedule to run every weekend or every weekday, they will continue to run in this standby database, and you will be able to see their status from the reporting option here. And also whatever archive log backups we configured in the primary database, they will continue to run as per the schedule every 2 hours. That also you'll be able to see under availability, backup and recovery, and backup reports for the testdg1 database, which is the primary database. So this is how you can configure database backups in the standby to reduce the load on the primary. So viewers, please provide your feedback in the comment section of the video and hit the like button if you found it useful. That will mean a lot to me and help grow this channel.